Hello and welcome to the Eurogamer News Cast. It's the 11th of June 2021. I'm Wesley, Eurogamer editor, and I am joined once again by Eurogamer News editor Tom Phillips. Say hello, Tom.
Hello there.
And Eurogamer reporter Emma Kent. Say hello, Emma.
Hello.
It is E3 predictions week, so we're going to talk about what we expect to see at the show and the various press conferences that it involves. We'll talk a little bit about the Summer Game Fest show that was held last night as we're recording this, which had a number of big reveals, including Elden Ring, which is very exciting. But first, as is Eurogamer Newscast tradition, we should talk about what we've been playing. Emma, I'll start with you. What have you been playing this week?
Yeah, well, I guess it's like the second half to what we were talking about last week, which is I finished Titanfall 2 and the campaign. Yeah, it's very good. Like everyone said it would be. I think last time you mentioned that there was like a mission that I would be like, whoa, blown away by. But I think I actually preferred the one that I'd already played by that point.
Which one do you prefer?
I think it's called like Into the Abyss or something. It's called Abyss. But it's the one where you're in the factory and kind of going on the conveyor belts and you kind of follow this dummy house as it gets created and then like thrown around, and then there's like a big stadium is almost built around you, like an arena. I found that very good.
It is very good. The I mean, it's not like that one level that we're talking about, which I don't think we should spoil, just because that is the one that, if it comes as a surprise, is a pretty cool moment. It's not like that is the only good level. There's a lot of great levels, I think, in that campaign. Now you finished it, do you have a newfound appreciation for Apex Legends lore and universe and all the other stuff, or doesn't really change anything?
Well, I guess a bit, because one of the legends in Apex is like the daughter of one of the people that you kill in Titanfall 2, and I was like, this guy's kind of an asshole in this game though, so I'm not sure if I feel bad about it. But I do I was like, oh, I guess this adds a little dimension to it that otherwise it would just be a regular bad guy.
Yeah, it's cool that people are coming back to this game now after it. Yeah, when did it come out? I want to say 2017 or something.
2016 maybe.
2016. Came out years ago, and there's no real indication that EA is going to greenlight a third game. I don't think it's sold well enough. So at least it's getting like a second. I was going to say wave then, but I hate saying that now these days.
Living through coronavirus for too long.
second wind, let's say. That's cool. So are you going to go back to Valheim after now you've had your Titanfall fix? Or
I mean, maybe, but Valheim's supposed to be getting its first proper big content update in the next few months, I think between July and September. So maybe when that happens, I will return to Valheim and have a look at that. There's a load of new building materials and cooking recipes, so that'll be fun to check out. It's important.
It is important. Tom, what have you been playing this week?
More Mass Effect. I'm now a good way through Mass Effect 2, and I've done like the collectorship mid mission.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Back when TV seasons used to have like 22 episodes, I guess they still do in America, but when I was watching that kind of like the Star Trek 22 episode season, they'd often have like a big middle episode before they broke for like the Christmas holidays. And that collectorship mission where you find out the true origin of the collectors, which I won't spoil in case someone still hasn't played, feels like that mission. It's a really cool moment, not just for the game, but like the whole series. And I really feel like my team is on its way to getting together, and I've got some loyalty missions to do now.
Yeah, they're very important.
But yeah, still having just buckets of fun with that. I'm also playing a bit of Fortnite. The new Alien extraterrestrial season started this week. It didn't have a live event or like a starting mission, which was a little disappointing, but it's fun so far. You can fly UFOs around the map.
It does have Rick and Morty, so
it does have Rick and Morty.
What could you want?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? and it will have Superman soon as well. And actually, as of tonight, it will have Harry Kane as well.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, Harry Kane in Fortnite.
Bizarre.
Is that enough to get you interested, Wes? Just to see
No,
Harry Kane running
no.
around?
Although my one observation about Harry Kane being in Fortnite is I looked at the Fortnite version of Harry Kane and I thought, you know what, that looks like Harry Kane. So Harry Kane isn't far off when he's clean shaven, fresh faced. He looks like he could easily be a cartoon Fortnite character. That's all I got. That's all I got.
He kind of reminds me of Martin a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Martin Robinson.
Yeah.
No way. What? I don't see that at all.
No.
I have what? No, I don't see that at all.
They're both very attractive men. I will say.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they look the same.
I know. I mean.
Okay. I mean, everyone knows Martin looks like the guy out of Lost Planet. I mean, that's the video game.
These things
character.
can both be true. Yeah.
Okay, I have been playing a game I just reviewed for Eurogamer called Guilty Gear Strive. It's a fighting game, so obviously that was the reason why I was giving it to review. But I'm glad I was because I love it. It's really good, and I have been playing it online a lot and trying to learn more and more about it in order to improve. Spending a bit of time doing stuff I used to do back in the day when I had more time on my hands, which is actually go in the lab and work things out. I wish I had more time. I really do. It just when I was a teenager, I used to spend like weekends in fighting game training modes, just learning different things. And I can feel myself wanting to do that with this, but it's just not feasible. I am in last night, I think it was, or the night before, I can't remember. I got into the second highest tier in the world in Guilty Gear Strive. It's a hardcore fighting game, and I was very proud about that. I'm not sure how long it's going to last because it's now officially out today as we're recording this, and so so
that was among journalists, was it?
No, right, yeah. So that'd be bait, right? No, I wouldn't claim any sort of victory over that. It was weird sort of launch where if you bought the Ultimate Edition or the Special Collector's Edition or whatever the special one was, you got early access to Monday, Tuesday, I can't remember. So I actually thought that meant all the most hardcore fans would be playing in this period, because you'd have to be to pay for that, right? Them extra money.
I think that it's all of the old people who have disposable income that you've been playing against, whereas the kids that don't have any pocket money will be in next week when it's cheaper.
Yeah,
and then their fast reflexes, you'll have no chance.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I'm gonna for now. I'm doing quite well, and I'm gonna enjoy it while it lasts, like for the next day. Anyway, let's talk about E3 and our predictions for what will be announced at the show. I'm very excited. I'm more excited this morning than I was yesterday about E3, and I was feeling a little bit down about E3 this week. Just didn't think it would be that interesting or that good. But we had the Jeff Keighley Summer Game Fest last night, and it ended with Elden Ring, and the internet exploded. Like, I don't think there's any other way of describing what happened. The internet was incredibly excited, and that just got me pumped. I mean, that's E3, isn't it? The last thing at a show, the thing everyone's been waiting for. You finally see, like, everyone's losing their mind. Jeff Keighley, who he seemed genuinely excited when he was
basically like giggling like a kid.
It looked like he was just gonna cry. He was so emotional about it. And I just thought, yeah, this is it. This is what E3 is about. This is what games should be about. And it just made me feel like maybe there is hope for this E3. So let's start with our predictions for the first big press conference of E3, which is Ubisoft. Tom, I'll start with you because you're pretty plugged in with what's going on with Ubisoft. What do you expect to see at the show this year?
I expect to see Far Cry 6, which is not too far off now. It doesn't look like it's going to get delayed again. We've seen a bit of that already. But yeah, I'm sure that will feature there. We'll see Rainbow Six Quarantine, or rather Extraction, as they've renamed it.
God, can you imagine when they realised that must have been an interesting meeting when they realised they couldn't really call it Quarantine anymore?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the game is about extracting after like rounds of doing weird procedurally generated tasks to fend off aliens, but yeah, Quarantine. You can't release a video game in 2021 called Quarantine. Assassins, they're going to show more of the post-launch roadmap and maybe even talk about the fact that it's done really well and they may continue that for a bit longer than some people were expecting. That would be cool. Yeah, I think that there might be one surprise, which some of the internet has already done some good guesswork on.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What have they done?
Well, there was some comments this week from Jason Schreier about a game that he couldn't reveal, as unlike all the other games that he seems to, and he said something about, I know the platform that it's on, and you know, Jason's a smart guy, and when he says something like that, and people are like, "Oh, so it's a singular platform. We're not saying platforms."
I see.
What platform could this mean? You know, you join the dots, and you're like, you know, what successful platform exclusive have they made in the last few years? I wonder if there's more of that coming. So, yeah,
Steam Machine. He's talking about Steam Machine.
Yeah, it's actually Quest for Epic Loot on iOS, the sequel. No, and I think also we know a lot of Ubisoft state. I think apart from maybe that, there shouldn't be too much more, because so much of what we were expecting from Ubisoft last year has been pushed back. So, and we know, for example, that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still nowhere near coming out. We know Skull and Bones has been pushed at least until April next year. It's out of this financial year now, so I won't release before 31st of March. So I don't know how much we'll see of that either. And Prince of Persia as well.
They've already said that won't be there.
Yeah, and the Division franchise won't be there, so we won't see any of Heartland, the new free-to-play spin-off. So, yeah, it might be quite, you know, like cool games, but stuff that we know a lot about, with maybe one or two surprises.
Okay, Emma, you are big into Assassins, well, at least the last one. What are you hoping to see them show from Assassin's Creed that will convince you to go back to it?
I'm not sure, because I feel like I just kind of like wrapped up the game, so it's quite hard to be like, "Oh, come on back."
Have you had your fill, or do you want more?
I could be tempted back, I guess. Maybe I could like replay the game, and then like check out like the island bit of DLC and stuff like that while I'm doing it. But yeah, it's quite hard at that point to be like, "Oh yeah, I've completed the main storyline," and then come on back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom? What for Assassin specifically? What do you think? What can we expect?
Yeah, I really like the Island DLC. I reviewed it a couple of weeks back. The next thing in the season pass that they've announced is their Paris Siege DLC, which is a real Viking event that happened a few years after the events of the main game. So Ava will be going there. That I think will be more of the same, really. Like they're not going into sort of the weird mythological stuff with this, because there is that in the main game already. I think there's a decent chunk of that there. So I think a big city this time around, whereas Ireland was quite rural. They did the dense cities in Valhalla very well. I thought the best cities, since they made games specifically just focused on cities, York and London were really nice. So another big location like that. And then the question is, what do they do beyond what they've announced? Because Valhalla has done really well. There have been lots of reports of Ubisoft Sophia working on a project that maybe was going to be standalone, and then because of the success of Valhalla, it's been sort of rejigged or rebooted and turned into Valhalla expansion.
Oh, right. So game they were actually working on could end up being turned into DLC for Assassins.
Or that team has just been rebooted onto an Assassin's expansion now. We reported about a month ago now about a code fragment from the game that was data mined that referenced another mythological realm for a third expansion, and none of this has been talked about. So maybe that is where we see more mythological stuff coming to the fore. I would be excited for that.
All right. So lots of Assassins, Rainbow Six Siege, Rainbow Six Extraction, Legion, Watch Dogs Legion, I assume will be there. They've got stuff to show.
Yeah, they might talk about, they've just announced their zombie mode, haven't they? So they might show that there more.
Okay. There's another game, isn't there? Is it like a steep successor?
Oh, yeah. Donlan saw it this week, didn't he? He liked it.
I can't remember what it's called. Okay. But they've got so much stuff they're not showing as well. Skull and Bones, Beyond Good and Evil 2, Division, the free-to-play Division. So they're keeping, and which they've come out and said, which I like. I like when companies manage expectations properly. I like when they say, look, just so you know, don't expect this, this, and this, and this. We'll focus on this, and we might have some surprises. I think that's the way to go, because you can end up in pretty bad backlash land when you get people hyped up to watch a show for unreasonable reasons. So that's good. That sounds okay to me. That doesn't, not gonna, I think that's not mind blowing. The Ubisoft police are here to tell me off for that feeling. For that. The next big one after that is Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase, which is probably one of the biggest things at E3 this year. And they've called it Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase because they are combining the two and they're going to show stuff from both, which I think is really cool. That's really exciting to see. So let's split them out because I think it's probably worth doing that. I'll start with you, Emma. On the Bethesda side, what do you predict we'll see?
Ooh, well, I want to see Starfield. I would very much like to. We've talked about this before. It feels like a little while since we've heard anything about it. Don't really expect to see gameplay, maybe, but more like a kind of a teaser trailer or like a reel of stuff, a little bit like Elden Ring.
Yeah, something like that. The rumor is the release date will be announced, and it's for late 2022. So I think it's pretty certain Starfield will be there. And I am, like you, very excited to see it. I'm a big fan of Bethesda Game Studios games. Do you think we'll see anything of Elder Scrolls 6?
Ooh. I don't think so. I think it might still be a bit early. I would like to, again, Bethesda, if you're watching, please give us
because
a sign.
they did announce
I mean,
it.
Yeah, it was like a landscape with a title on it. And I think it would be wise not to show it too early. So that's really hard to say, I guess, because we don't know how far along it is, but I think it's still going to be a little while until they're ready to fully unveil it.
Right, so here's my question. They're in a curious position of having a big name developer, Arcane, making a new game that's coming out they'll want to promote called Deathloop, which is a PlayStation exclusive. So they can't show it. Surely they can't show it at this show. Do you think that's right? Or can they show it? Yes or no? Tom, is it going to be there?
No, not in a million years. Of course not. No. If it's not coming out for like a year, then no. I think we'll see it. Last night at the Game Fest, they announced that, or Sony said that we'd be seeing more of Death Stranding Director's Cut in a couple of weeks, which suggests to me that there's a PlayStation Nintendo Direct coming, and we'll see it there. But no, there's no way. They'll talk. Xbox will talk about Deathloop. It will acknowledge Deathloop when in a year's time when it's going to come to Game Pass, and not before.
Okay, but it's the same situation for Tango Gameworks' new game as well. Yeah. Which is Ghostwire, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So they're not going to show that either?
Well, their PlayStation exclusives.
It's
So
crazy.
none.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they don't really want to draw attention to that as well in like the Xbox showcase.
Yeah, but if you're a developer at one of these studios, if you're one, Arcane or Tango Gameworks, you want to promote your game at the biggest game show on earth, where everyone's watching, and they're just not going to let you. I'd be like, this is awful, and it's through no fault of their own. It's just the quirk. It's politics, isn't it? I mean, if everyone was friendly and they would just do it. But yeah, I can't see either of them being there either. Okay, is it too early for Indiana Jones from Machine Games? We're saying yes.
I think the most we get is like a CGI teaser.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that would be cool. Actually, we don't even know the name of that game. What do we think is next from id? Do we think we'll see anything from id Software there? Doom, another. Is it too early for a new Doom?
People love Doom.
I presume they'll do another Doom, but they haven't announced it.
I think a Doom is more likely than another Rage.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Okay, right. Let's move on to Microsoft. I'll start here because I kind of know something that will be in it. Because early this week, Microsoft had this a video virtual briefing which they showed to press and analysts that we're not allowed to show the public. You're not allowed. We weren't allowed to take clips from it and put it online. It was for background purposes only. We were able to report on the various announcements that were made in it. This is a pre-E3 thing, nothing to do with games. It was about Game Pass and their overall business strategy. Very interesting. There's stuff on the site about it if you want to know what Microsoft's trying to do. At the end of this video, Phil Spencer said, here's a little tease for something that you'll see more of at the showcase. And it was Microsoft Flight Simulator running in 4K on Xbox Series X. And it looked lovely, really, really nice. So I'm guessing Microsoft Flight Simulator will be at the show in some form on Xbox consoles. I don't think that's any big surprise. That makes sense. The release of that for Xbox is probably right around the corner. Although my one question is, will they show it on Xbox One? But so apart from that, what do we think? What is a given? Emma, I'll start with you again for the Microsoft portion of the press conference.
Probably Halo. I think they need to give an update on how that's been going along and the improvements they've made.
Yeah, for me, it's a big moment for Halo Infinite. The world is sort of watching to see if it can have a better showing than last time. I think we can all agree that the last time they showed it, it didn't really go down very well. So there's a lot of pressure for them to sort of wow us with
Craig's makeover.
Yeah, Craig's makeover. Yeah, I do like the Craig meme because it just adds an element of humor to something that I'd hate for it to turn toxic. I mean, it's probably already has turned toxic, hasn't it, for them? But yeah, I'm so fascinated to see how this game is going to look. And it's got this same problem. It's got to run on Xbox One, which, and be fundamentally the same game, which I'm a bit concerned about. What else do we expect from either of you? Is there anything that is just a nailed on, apart from Halo, apart from Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Nailed on. There's a bunch of things I'd like to see. I'd like to see Forza. I'd like to know what their plans are. Are they going to do a Forza Horizon before the next Forza? Because the next Forza Motorsport is not this year, but rumors abound that there's going to be a Forza Horizon to keep things ticking over before then. And I think lots of people are very excited about that. The rumors are saying Mexico, aren't they? Yeah. So that'll be cool.
I feel like Forza is a strong shout. Like, surely it wasn't there wasn't a Forza last year. Surely there'll be a Forza this year.
Yeah, and then they've got so many games that are just sort of, there on the release schedule, and exactly when they turn up, who knows? Things like Avowed, Everwild, Fable. We've got to see at least some of those. Like of them, I would guess that maybe Avowed is actually the closest.
The new Obsidian game.
Yeah. So
we knew this, but the briefing, the Microsoft briefing this week, just sort of hammered home to me the transformation Microsoft has gone under in the last few years. They grew from 5 studios, I think they said, to 23. They have 23 studios across the world now. Well, mad.
Maybe they'll have even more.
Yeah, I mean, in that briefing, they did say, they said, we're still going to make some more acquisitions. They're still going to, they're going to buy more studios. So it'll be fascinating to see if, maybe they'll announce them.
E3 has been traditionally the time that they have done that. So it would be cool if they did that again.
Yeah. They said their target is to release a new first-party game every quarter from now on. So 4 new first-party games a year, which is a pretty big commitment. And this is all funneling Game Pass, right? This is the whole point, is so that they've got stuff for Game Pass, and it will mean they just need studios. They just need to spend to get them. I would love to see some of Fable. As a Fable fan, it's a UK-made game. Playground is a great studio with good people, and I would love to. I'm rooting for them. I would love for that to be shown and look good. I'm still, I'm not thrilled that Lionhead was shut down. But if there's one studio that I feel confident in, it's Playground. Do we think it's too early to see Perfect Dark?
Yeah, I'd say so. When we got that teaser, it was very much a come work at our studio. We're hiring now. Here's the concept, kind of thing, which is fine. Okay.
Yeah, it's time. My overall feeling for this press conference is it's time for Microsoft to show some exclusives. Like, they launched the Xbox Series X and S last year, and it hasn't really had any exclusives. Sony has had exclusives, and I think it's time for Microsoft to now show some of what the games that they've been working on. So there is a degree of pressure there, I think, on them for that. Let's move on. On the same day after Xbox and Bethesda, Square Enix presents. So they're doing a press conference. Now, they've actually come out and said some of the stuff that they're showing. Tom, what have they said that they're going to show? So what do we know will be there?
Yeah, the big one is the next project from Eidos Montreal, which, again, the internet pretty much knows exactly what it's going to be. And if you read Eurogamer in 2017,
I was going to say,
we did
the internet knows because we reported on it.
We did a report on what it was, and I don't think that plans have changed since then. So we reported in 2017 that Eidos Montreal was working on a Guardians of the Galaxy game. This was game number 2 in Square Enix's big partnership with Marvel following the Avengers. It will just be fascinating to see whether the reaction to Avengers has had any impact on the game that Guardians ends up being, and I think that everybody will be watching that, and it's going to be really cool, I think, to see what it looks like. And that's probably all I can say about
that. My hope is they don't do what they did with Avengers and do look a bit like the movie characters, but not quite,
It's like a kids' party, and they've hired some lookalike actors.
Yeah, it's like the cover band version of the Avengers, and it just feels weird and stupid, and it didn't help at all with that game. I mean, that game pre-release was just a laughing stock. I feel bad saying that, but everyone was laughing at it before it even came out. and they will. I really, really hope this game avoids that similar issue. I hope their Guardians of the Galaxy are just wild. You know, don't look anything like the Guardians of the Galaxy from the movies. Although saying that, a tree's a tree. Like, it's hard to change Groot. But the others, Emma, are you in any way, shape, or form excited about this game?
No.
Are you even a Guardians of the Galaxy fan?
It was okay. I wasn't that bothered by it.
Wow. See, I think the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie is one of the great sci-fi movies.
I can't really remember what happens in it.
What?
Honestly, all
The
passed me by.
opening scene where Chris Pratt is dancing his way to stealing the thing. It's like a sci-fi brilliance. Funny, exciting, charismatic. It's like Harrison Ford, but younger in sci-fi.
I think that's the only bit that I remember.
You only remember that scene? Okay.
Yeah.
This game is not for you.
No. Thor Ragnarok's the best one anyway. So. Of Marvel.
I mean, Thor Ragnarok is fantastic, but yeah, I think the first Guardians is definitely up there. Tom, do you care about this game?
Great deal. Yeah, it's funny. Like Sarah and I just finished a big Marvel rewatch, and we just finished Endgame literally at the weekend, ahead of Loki coming out this week, and I'm super interested to see where this version of Guardians lands, because there's the movies which are iconic. I think far more like the movies are the much better known version of these characters than the Avengers. Like you could have said that these characters were well known and like to a degree before the MCU came along, whereas I don't think anyone had heard about who the Guardians were. So I think they've got to walk a fine line balancing people's expectations of these characters from the movies and comic books. And I would be stunned if they had suddenly licensed the MCU likenesses and voices for this. I just don't think that's likely.
No, too much money. No.
But yeah, so I'm very intrigued to see it, and I think that with some knowledge of what people liked and didn't like about Avengers, mostly didn't like, that this game has had a bit more time to address some of those things, so we shall see more.
Okay,
that's not the only thing at the conference.
Yeah, I was going to say, what else have they said that they're going to show?
Yeah, Life is Strange True Colors, which looks fantastic, kind of a semi-open world version of the Life is Strange series. I'm a huge fan of that. I think this game looks rad. And,
True Colors.
Yeah, I think there's just so much to like about it already, and we've only seen a glimpse, so I'm really keen to see more.
And do we think Final Fantasy is going to be there? Because they haven't said that Final Fantasy will be there.
I don't think in any meaningful way, in any big way. I think that they would have flagged that ahead of time.
Right. So not 16 then?
No, I mean, we were just saying about Sony possibly doing something a bit later. I would expect it to turn up there just because it's so much of a PlayStation aligned thing.
Right. Life is Strange interest you at all, Emma? No.
Not really. Not doing too hot on the Square Enix.
No, this Square Enix isn't really your thing.
Not really.
I mean, again, for me, like, I am definitely interested in the Guardians of the Galaxy game. I'm not sure I'll play it, but I'm definitely interested in seeing it. So, similar deal to the Ubisoft press conference. This feels to me like, I'm interested. I'm going to tune in, obviously report on it, but I'm not like super pumped for it. My expectations are not, that they're going to pull out some incredible game that no one's ever even considered. Whereas I'm much more excited for the Microsoft Bethesda one, just because, I want to see Halo and Starfield. Let's move on. We've got Capcom Showcase stream on Monday. Now, they, again, have said a few of the things that will be at that. Tom, what are we expecting from Capcom's stream?
Yeah, that was an odd announce because they listed a bunch of games that were either out in July or are out already. So Resident Evil Village, What are they going to show there? Is that just going to be more for the mercenaries mode? Are they actually going to do some story
DLC maybe. Yeah.
DLC? Who knows?
Lady
they-
Dimitrescu spin-off. I'd play
maybe.
that.
They did a bunch of like found tape little mini adventure slices for 7, so maybe there's a few of those that they've got for 8 for Village. The Great Ace Attorney Detective compilation, which we've known is coming out for a while, which has been out in Japan for a while and is coming to the West in July. Monster Hunter, you're going to have to help me because all of the Monster Hunter titles sort of blur into one.
Mate,
like,
I don't know either. Like, we've got some super fans on the team, but not in this
They're
newscast.
not on the news team.
Monster Hunter is always one of those games where something will happen, and I'm like,
we'll all look at each other. Like,
yeah, I'm like, is Martin around? Is Matt around? Please, someone help. I know that the one that came out on the Switch has done very, very well. And
Is that
indeed,
Rise?
yeah, and generally it's doing fantastically well for Capcom. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they're going to talk about it there. Have they said that they're going to show anything else, or are they the only 2 things that they've actually gone on record to say that will be there?
So Resi, Monster Hunter, Ace Attorney. I think that is more or less it.
Yeah, you see, that's not enough for me for them to do a show.
It's an odd halfway house of a show. Like, it's a presentation. They're taking part in this ESA E3 never-ending live stream that runs all day, every day for 4 days. So it's not a press conference, but I guess they just wanted to show what's coming up. It's kind of the stuff that they would bring to the show that you would probably show to press and fans, and it being like a near complete state, and they're sort of acknowledging that it's coming soon.
So you're about to crush my dreams when I say to you, should I expect to see Street Fighter 6 at this thing? You're going to say no, aren't you?
The thing is, for a big announcement like that, you probably expect it at a platform holder conference. When like one of them would want to snaffle it up, I reckon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it does exist, but that feels to me like a Sony state of play thing. Since Sony had worked with Capcom on 5. Well, I'll tune in just in, desperation, because that would be incredible. Emma, I feel like we're getting, there's a pattern here, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Is there anything Capcom may be showing that interests you?
No. Sorry.
Wow. Do you even like games?
Look, I'm excited for the Xbox Bethesda conference. The other one's less so.
Yeah, so far it's not been a good. It's not good E3 for you so far. Well, hasn't even happened yet. Right. Next, and this is definitely one of the big ones. Could even be the biggest one. Nintendo Direct, which is scheduled for Tuesday, June 15th. Now, Tom.
Hello.
What have they said? Let's start with what they've said.
They've said that it will be 45 or 40 minutes of Nintendo Switch software, mostly due this year. That's what they've said.
But not all due this year.
No.
Right.
Which means they can talk about Arceus.
Thank you.
And they have the ability to talk about Zelda and not necessarily have it come out in 2021.
Right. So the big expectation is they're going to show Breath of the Wild 2, right? Do we feel like this is a nailed on thing? This is definitely going to happen.
It has to happen. If it doesn't happen, then the opposite of the Elden Ring reaction will hapen, and the internet, instead of exploding, will just implode, and there'll be no more internet anymore ever again.
I think Nintendo would want that. They don't seem to be a big fan of online.
Yeah, they won't even notice. They'll be like, "Oh, okay." Right. So, Breath of the Wild 2 is a given. I cannot wait to see that game. The teaser that they put out. When was it? Was it last E3? I can't remember. Was it the E3 before? This
It was the last E3 that I was there, because there was this fantastic situation where so I was lucky enough to be part of the press that got a look at the direct before it aired, and there was quite an abrupt end to the presentation, but I just thought, someone had turned the projector off or something, and that was it. And then it aired, and it was like, no, they not even the people who saw it early, not even like a bunch of people who worked at Nintendo knew that teaser was going to be stuck on the end, and they kept it back for a surprise, which I really enjoyed. I was just like, lol, fair play, great, can't wait.
Super secret stuff. Well, the teaser that they put out, I loved, because it's creepy, it's weird, the music is odd, and the aesthetic is just a little like darker than Breath of the Wild, and I get proper Majora's Mask vibes from it. And the sort of like path I'm seeing is like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is Ocarina for the Switch generation, and Breath of the Wild 2 is essentially Majora's Mask for the Switch generation. I think that would be fantastic. And I cannot wait to see that. But apart from that, what do we think they're going to show? Do we have any ideas, any hopes?
I think that there'll be more Zelda this year than Breath of the Wild, because it's the anniversary year and everybody bought Mario.
So what are you saying? What does that mean?
I think because we've got Skyward Sword coming in July, there will be more old Zelda games coming to Switch. So yeah, we'll see how they arrive, like individually or in a collection or whatever. But now will be a good year to do a bit more of that and get excitement building for Breath of the Wild 2.
They'll only be on sale for E3, and they'll be discontinued afterwards, and they'll be £500 each. Okay, more Zelda. Emma, is there anything?
Oh, sorry.
The answer is always the same, which is I want to see more Fire Emblem. I don't think it will happen, but I will always remain hopeful. They've kind of done the big Fire Emblem game for this generation now. Obviously, it's 3 houses, but more DLC. I don't know, like a little spin-off.
Have they released DLC for it already?
They have, yeah. That's the thing. So
it feels like it's done a little bit. Unless they have something really big in the bag that they're just going to be like, here is another thing. But I don't know. Just always remain hopeful for more Fire Emblem. I mean, that game sold spectacularly well, right? It's biggest Fire Emblem ever, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And it was like quite surprising because that series has traditionally been kind of hardcore, and it became way more mainstream with that. They kind of leaned into the story elements a bit more and drinking tea with people, that kind of thing. The character building. But yeah.
Well, it makes perfect sense that they'll do some more, that Fire Emblem will come back. I mean,
oh yeah, it's just a matter of when.
Too popular,
really.
Yeah. Tom, do you think we'll see Splatoon 3 at this show?
Yeah, I'd sort of forgotten that they'd announced that. It's 2022 that's coming out.
Yeah.
I think that's a good shout. Whether they want to go do a deep dive, literally, into the ink on that, I don't know. My big hope and kind of expectation is that we will get a little something. I'm not wearing the t-shirt today for Metroid.
Oof. I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It would be great. I mean, it would be an incredible Nintendo Direct if you're packing in Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid 4, Splatoon 3. I mean, that's big. Some massive hitters right there if they're doing that. Okay. Anything else? Well, that'd probably be enough, wouldn't it?
That will do. Yeah, I mean, Pikmin 4 would be nice as well.
Oh yeah, Jesus. Do they do Pokemon stuff at the Nintendo Directs at E3, or is that left to something else?
It's not traditional because they're on the booth, so we don't have a physical E3 anymore. Who knows? But traditionally, Pokemon is left to do its own stuff separately, and then you might get a trailer for a game that's already announced. But I think they'll mention it. I don't think it will be a big focus.
Right. Okay. All right. So the big hope is Breath of the Wild 2. That makes it incredibly exciting for me. This Nintendo Direct is definitely up there, and alongside Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. And then we've got Bandai Namco stream also on the Tuesday. Now, this leads us neatly on to talking a bit about Elden Ring. Elden Ring was shown at the end of Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest event last night. The internet lost its mind. Everyone's very excited. Game looks super cool. Do we think they'll show a bit more of that at their own show? Or do you think that's it and they won't actually show it?
I feel like everyone will be expecting to see it a little bit more now. Almost like going into detail on, you know, the gameplay and features, I think would be a good idea. They've kind of started talking about that a little bit on the website. So maybe just delving into that a bit more. And then, you know, it's kind of like a reason for everyone to tune in for the rest of the Bandai Namco show.
Yeah.
So I hope they do.
I feel like this is one of those manage expectations thing, because if they're not going to show Elden Ring, they need to say that they're not going to show Elden Ring, because otherwise everyone's going to tune in the hope of seeing exactly what you said. And, you know, you just don't want to waste your time, do you? Apart from that, do we know anything else that might be there? Do we care at all about anything else that they've got and they might want to show?
House of Ashes, the new Supermassive game, they published that. They publish Tales, but like really, as you guys have said, if they don't have Elden Ring at their own E3 showcase, what is the point? So, and people will tune in just for that, and they must know that. So if it's not there, then you're going to disappoint a lot of people. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so we've gone through the bulk of. There's other shows at E3 that we haven't talked about in detail. Guerrilla Collective Part 2, which focuses on indie games, is on the Saturday. Wholesome Direct, also on the Saturday. Devolver is having a press conference, which I'm going to tune into just because I want to see the car crash, you know? Like their press conferences are just, I mean, they're just weird and usually quite fun. Matt Wells is a big fan of this Devolver cinematic universe that they've established, where their press conferences are actually a recurring story. But yeah, I think they've said they've got like 5 games to show, 5 new games. That'd be cool. There's Upload VR Showcase, which focuses on VR. That's also on the Saturday. We've got the PC Gaming Show on Sunday, followed by the Future Games Show on the Sunday. PC Gaming Show usually throws up a few interesting games, so that might be worth keeping an eye on. And then that's it. I don't think we include EA Play in this? It's not until July 22nd, so it doesn't feel like E3 to me. So
yeah, that feels pretty separate now.
Yeah, that's too far away, isn't it? Yeah.
I guess EA's offering us basically the Battlefield news. So
that's true, and they've shown that, yeah. And there will be another embargo for Battlefield, which is lifting, where they're showing gameplay. So you're absolutely right. For them, E3 is about showing Battlefield. So now we've talked about it, and we've sort of got a better sense of what to expect and what we think will be there. How do we feel about it? Do we feel like it's a good show if what we've talked about actually happens? Do we feel like it's disappointing or just sort of okay? Tom, how do you feel about E3 this year?
Complicated and long. I think can you call it a show? No. I'm excited for the upcoming week of like reveals and stuff, which are happening more or less because publishers just want to talk about stuff at this time of year and not because E3 itself really matters this year. They've tried their hardest, but a lot of this stuff is just happening because publishers want it, not because they owe some allegiance to E3 itself. And we saw that last night with the Jeff Keighley show. It's funny, like Jeff Keighley didn't mention E3, the name E3 once over the 2 hours. And there's this weird like E3 and Summer Game Fest rivalry to claim all of these publisher events as part of E3 and Summer Game Fest. Clearly having Elden Ring, having Kojima, Some of the announcements last night was big for Jeff. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters for most people, like whether these announcements come as one or the other.
No one cares.
But it's interesting to sort of think about what E3 will look like next year, when presumably there will be some kind of physical event again. But also, I don't think that these digital things are going to go away. I think that it just reaches so many people, and there's platforms set up now through stuff like Summer Game Fest that stuff will continue. Overall, I think this is a decent showing for an industry that has basically spent 12 months mothballed, or held up, and I think there's some cool stuff.
Okay, Emma, how do you feel about E3 this year?
Yeah, again, mixed. I think having Elden Ring is already kind of, I guess it's not really part of E3, but like in this kind of cluster of shows has kind of elevated it already, and kind of brought the excitement a bit. It depends if all those things that we've listed actually happen, or if it just ends up being a kind of quieter series of announcements. I feel like there is definitely a lot lost by not having the physical show. I know like everyone's saying like the digital events are gonna and the digital live streams are going to carry on to future, but for us as journalists, like we don't have the kind of one-on-one interviews or the access that you'd normally get with everyone being in one place. And I know that for developers as well, like a lot of business to business stuff happens at physical E3. So even though we're kind of like replicating the buzz of it, overall it's not exactly the same. Also, personally, I really like the kind of live audience interaction that you get at the conferences, and that sense of excitement that you don't really get from just like one person presenting at a camera. So I do think physical E3 will be back. I think maybe it'll just be more of a mix than it was before of digital and physical announcements. But no, and E3 this year, I don't know, like the ESA doesn't really seem to have that much control over what the publishers are doing. They were tweeting being like, we don't know what's going on in the schedule, it's up to like the publishers to announce it. And they kind of intended everything to go through like the E3 portal and everyone to go on there and like find information about games and like interactive virtual booths. And I've been on there as part of Media Week. There is not much going on. It's very, very much broken in some ways. So yeah, it's not been brilliant for the ESA this year, but nonetheless, I think it's better than nothing, and there's some stuff to be excited about.
I'm right with you on the physical side of things, because I definitely miss the energy of going to the show and the sort of adrenaline rush of seeing people that you wouldn't ever normally see face to face, doing interviews and going hands on, and actually speaking to people is really valuable, really fun, really energizing, even though it's knackering. It's kind of weird, but and like if you think about the greatest E3 moments, they involve crowds. Like over the years, Keanu Reeves coming out on stage, you're breathtaking. That kind of thing cannot happen virtually.
Yeah, and that became like a big marketing slogan almost for Cyberpunk, even if it didn't work out in the end. They even put that quote in the game as like a pose and stuff like that. It was a spontaneous moment that really worked out.
Yeah, and then like over the years, you've had crazy moments that you only get when you've got an audience. Like I'm old enough to remember Miyamoto coming out on stage with a sword and shield and people crying in that, like people on their knees crying like Jesus had just walked out on stage.
I watched that in my bedroom, and I still remember.
You were crying too, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I watched, Kotaku did a list of best E3 moments this week, and I was watching some of them, and I mean, I there's a lot about E3 physically that I miss. I'm sure it will come back next year, but let's not like ignore the fact that it was changing already. The addition of it becoming a public event sort of 3 years ago changed things like a lot. And I remember when it was press only, and you got a lot more done. And now, because economics of running a big event like this, it just makes much more sense to focus it towards consumers and so things have changed. And I think that slowly but surely like the monopoly of E3 on announcements throughout the year is fading. Like stuff like Gamescom is becoming bigger now, Jeff Keighley, you've got to say, is a part of that. You know, there's this Gamescom show, there's Game Awards too, but like, yeah, E3 is not the one big thing in the year anymore. So I hope it comes back. Well, it will come back next year, I'm sure. There's money to be made, but yeah, I think that some of these changes are here to stay.
Yeah, hybrid, like with everything, I think, in a post-pandemic world or endemic world. All right. That's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how wrong we're going to be proven to be. That'll be fun. I'm pretty confident with Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I think Guardians will be there.
Okay, that's your big bet. I'm going to go with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Emma, what's your big bet? What hill are you going to die on?
Starfield.
Wow, we're so risky. Okay, I look forward to it all. Let's close out the show. I'm going to, with our mug check, which we do every week, I'm going to start because I am not at home recording this. I'm at my sister's house. You might have seen a flash behind me in Streatham, which also explains all the sirens. And she gave me a cup of coffee this morning and I didn't even think to ask her, can you please put it in an interesting mug? Because of this thing that we do on the show. I mean, I just didn't do that. So I've just got my sister's mug.
It's quite a nice one though. I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. Huh?
Yeah, it's nice. It's not really interesting though, is it?
Is it from somewhere? Does it have anything on the bottom that says where it's from?
Wilco.
Okay.
It's microwavable safe and dishwasher safe. There you go.
Practical
no,
mug.
it's not interesting, but very nice. Tom.
Oh, I might say,
yeah, that mug thing we do.
to be fair, this was a bit of a rush start this morning. So I might have shown this before. This is my Chicago mug from when I went to Chicago to play Pokemon. And it's this mug I got from like a 7-Eleven as like a tacky gift. You know, it cost like $5, but it's an incredible mug. It's like,
why
big.
is it so incredible?
It like, I have got much newer mugs than this, and everything's started to like wear away, and this is just standing the test of time incredibly well. I basically use it every single day because I want as much coffee in a mug as possible every morning. So I pick one of the larger mugs that we have, and this is usually front of the cupboard.
It's impervious to harm.
Also reminds me of Chicago.
I'd love to go to Chicago. Yeah,
lovely place.
Why 4 stars? Whenever I see 4 stars, I always think, why only 4 out of 5?
I think it's an honest assessment of Chicago. I saw the touristy bits, but like, you know,
even the tourist traps are like, yeah, 4 out of 5.
You talk to the cab. You talk to the cab drivers whenever you go to these places, and it's always like, "Oh yeah, drove past a murder last night." So I think 5 stars would be a little bit over.
Wow. Well, I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, Emma, but you need to save this mug check. It's been pretty shit so far.
The world's worst mug is just a flower mug. It's got nothing behind it.
Hold it closer. Can't see. Okay.
At least it's a mug.
Yeah, I'm going to say,
wow.
At least it's a mug. That's an improvement.
I had some very extravagant mugs a while back, and then I kind of, I don't know, been on a sharp spiral downwards recently with the quality.
You were
of the
doing
mug.
so well, and now, yeah, God, we need to address this mug check issue. We're sort of a bit crap at the moment. But I'm not surprised, because we've done a lot of these shows, and any normal human being would not have like 500 interesting mugs just to hand. So perhaps we need to rethink mug check.
I was looking at Tom's cat there. It's just
incredible framing.
That's amazing.
Look at him.
It's not camera shy, huh?
Wow.
No.
That is almost like your cat knows. Like,
that's
where it needs to be.
Yeah.
I know nothing about cats. They're not that smart, are they?
They are when they want to be dicks. And like, what was that?
Yeah, that was literally like, no.
You're calling me a dick?
Oh.
He's having a scratch. Yeah, he wants to be fed. He thinks that it's lunchtime already.
Yes, but to be right there to want to be fed. Perfect.
And now he's licking his ass.
He's trying to get your attention through the camera, like just sitting behind you menacingly.
Fantastic. Wow. That was brilliant. All right then. Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate it. Tom, for more wild Nintendo predictions, where should people go on Twitter?
It's at Tom Phillips EG.
And Emma, for crazy predictions such as Starfield being at Microsoft's and Bethesda's press conference, where should people go on Twitter?
At GonnyFK.
And I'm at WYP100. Thanks very much, guys. Bye.